Okay, after 3 years of after 3 years of having my fruit orchard trees in the ground, and the first time I planted them, I did treat them with bone sauce. I'm starting to get some nibbles from rabbits again. Deer doesn't seem to be a problem. My dogs kind of keep the deer away from uh, where we are here, which is fairly close to the house. So my house, and then over there is by those pine trees, kind of between the pine trees and that tree line. I have 125 fruit trees planted just above my lowest pond on the property. I need to reapply, so I also have a whole bunch of hybrid chestnuts that I want to treat before I want to paint it on there before I even plant them in the ground. So this is how I make bone sauce. So I cleaned out the freezer, and whenever you get a half a beef or whatever, you end up with a whole bunch of bones and soup bones and stuff, and maybe you didn't get around to using them right away, and they kind of look freezer burned and sad. So I kind of took those out and boiled them yesterday, and stripped the meat off of it as best I could. I couldn't get it all, but I think that it'll work out better because it's going to have this horrible burned meat kind of flavor and smell to it that rabbits and deer and rodents really will not find appealing. So I'm just going to not worry so much about the fat. I took the rest of the meat off of it, and I'll give it to the dogs. And so basically what you have here, you have a pot here that's going to get buried in the ground. I have a piece of woven wire or hardware cloth, I guess, that I kind of fit in there, and you kind of squish it in there so it stays in. And then you take your the top pot should fit kind of closely inside. Now you see there is a bit of a seam, an air gap, but when I'm going to bury this underground, and then I'm going to seal all the way around the top of this with clay to seal that seam, so it kind of becomes a type of a pressure cooker. And then I'll make a fire over the top of the whole thing and then burn it, and then I'll make another fire and burn it again, and then let it cool. And then once it's cooled off and you can kind of get at it, there should be a nice layer of this just awful smelling liquid in the bottom of it that you can mix with with some other kind of animal fat. I like to put a bit of creek sand in it just to get the mouth feel, and then I paint it on the the first foot or so of the stalk of all the trees, the trunk. And that really did, for the first 2 years, really did keep. I had no nibbles from any rabbits, but now I'm noticing this year I'm getting some. And since I got a whole bunch of trees coming in, I mean, I got 200 mulberry, 200 pawpaw coming in, so I want to make a nice big batch of bone sauce so I can paint all my trees before installing them. And so this is the first step, and this is all the material you need. 2 pots that kind of fit closely together. It doesn't have to be anything exact because you're sealing it with clay, and a shovel and some bones and a place to have a fire. So I got a little wood here. So I'll show what it looks like when it's dug in next. Alright, so I got it dug into the ground. I kind of packed in around it pretty good. So it's just under the ground. The ground's pretty wet. I don't know if that's going to affect anything. I might have to try to get a much hotter fire to penetrate down and just make sure everything gets thoroughly blackened and cooked. Now the tricky part is, so you want to put this this mesh on, and then what you have to do is take the full pot of bones and flip it on top of the mesh. So these bones are sitting on top of the mesh, and then all the the nasty stuff, when it's burning, will drain down and get caught in the lower pot. I don't know if I can do it one-handed. I'll give it a whirl. Nope, not all the way. So you just want to kind of get them all under there and make sure the pot is as tight as you can. So that wasn't too bad. So everything's in there, and it's as tight as it can be all the way around. And then I'll make up clay and really seal this as best as I can, this joint here all the way around the edge, to make a kind of a pressure cooker. Now it's not going to get, it's not a perfect seal, of course, so it's not going to be like dangerous or explosive or anything like that, but just enough to keep the heat in, keep the pressure up, you know, get the temperatures a little higher, you know, and really thoroughly blacken those bones and get all the nasty down into the bottom pot. So I'll show the pot sealed up next. All right, so here it is, all sealed up as best I can. I made the mud's pretty wet, so I think it squeezed in there pretty good. I buried it maybe 1.5 inches around the top edge, and now I can build my fire on top of this and burn it a couple times, and then we'll have bone sauce. Be back and show the fire. Alright, so I just made a teepee out of some smaller pieces. I jammed a whole bunch of newspaper under it, doused it with a little bit of used motor oil, and fired it up. So this wood's really wet. It's been raining out for, I don't know, weeks. So we'll see. It might take a few tries to get it going, but that's why I picked kind of smaller diameter pieces. And I'll probably just stay out here and maybe feed it. Instead of trying to light 2 separate fires, I'll probably get some more wood and kind of jam it on there and keep it going for a while, you know, a couple hours maybe, and just really get that get the ground dried and hot, and make sure everything's nice and cooked, and then see how it goes. I'll be back. Well, it's going pretty good. I didn't have to fool with the wood as much as I thought. I mean, the wood was dry. It's been sitting out for a couple of years, but I thought maybe with the rain it might be a little too saturated. But it's going good. I got a good bed of coals. The pot is nice and buried in these hot coals, and most of this stuff isn't even 1/4 of the way burnt, so it's going the way I want. Enjoy. We're about 1 hour into the burn. The teepee shape is kind of falling apart, so I'm just piling up on top of the coals, right on top of the pot, really, just to kind of keep the fire going. It's going good. Real hot bed of coals. I'll probably go get some more wood just to be ready to add some more on there. Just keep it going. There was quite a bit of bones. A little bit of a bigger batch than I've made before. So I'm going to cook it a little bit longer this time. Alright, so the fire went out a long time ago. Coals are still, there's few hot coals in there, but it's on the whole it's mostly all out. It's still pretty hot, but it's not hot enough to really be cooking anymore. I cleared all the coal and ash out of the way, and then I chipped out the clay seal all the way around. So I'm ready to open it and see what I got. So we got, the bones are charred real nice. That's, oh God, that stinks. That's what we're looking for. So let's see if I can get this out of here and see what we're left with at the bottom. Yeah. Yeah, there's quite a bit in there. Let's see here. Get a little stick here. Yep, that's the stuff. That's the stuff right there. It's oily. Oh, it just smells like death. It's just awful smelling. Nice. So that's how I make my bone sauce. That's quite a good amount there. What I do is I'll take a paintbrush like so, And you can just go ahead and paint that right on your trees. It smells kind of bad if you do a lot of the tree, you know, like I got over 100 trees over there that I want to do. You can smell it from a distance for the first couple of days, and then the smell dissipates enough where you can't smell it, but I'm pretty sure that the animals can smell it. And from what I heard, people who do this with deer, you put it on once and it lasts for a really long time, like maybe even a decade. And it's not really meant to be used for girdling or whatever, you know, rodents eating the bark off of it, but I've had pretty good success with it. Like I said, I put it on the first year. That was 3 years ago, and I haven't had any nibbling up until this year. And it's not enough to kill any of the trees that were nibbled upon, but it's enough where it's kind of like a warning where I better start to do something. Where, you know, and I'd rather do this. I mean, because this cost me nothing, you know. I mean, if I was to get plastic guards for over 100 trees, and now, you know, 500, you know, that would be cost prohibitive to me, and time prohibitive, and ugly, you know, and not really something that I really am interested in doing. So I like to do this. It's working good for me so far. I think I might start to apply it every year until the trees are more mature. You know, it doesn't really take that much time. You know, putting it on is just kind of painting it on the bottom. You don't have to be real particular about it. It doesn't have to look pretty or anything. So yeah, so this is how I'm going to protect my trees. Enjoy.